loved action figures. When I was a little kid, my grandmother, every time she came to visit, she'd bring me a Mego superhero. Mego was a really big company in the 70s that did all of Marvel and DC characters, and then eventually everything on television like Chips, Dukes of Hazzard, etc. So that was my first, and then my parents took me to see Star Wars at a drive-in theater in Union off 22, and I was all 4.5 years old or whatever, and that completely blew my mind, and I was never the same ever since. I bought every Star Wars figure from that point till today still. So that's how it goes.
But what do you, I mean, what are you getting out of the collecting part of it?
The collecting part still for me, especially with Star Wars, is I feel like a kid again when I buy a new figure, or if they make a character now that they never made when I was growing up, and I always felt like, oh, I wish they made Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin, or I wish they made the soldier from Leia's ship, and they never made those back then, and they make them now. When I see them on the shelf, or when I buy them or add them to my collection, I feel like I'm 7 or 8 years old again for that moment. And I like Nicole was saying, I like being a completist. So when I was a kid, I used to make lists of what characters they should make. I used to write letters to Kenner, the company. My mom has copies of some of them, and I would tell them, like, why don't you make this guy, or you should make that guy? And like, I always wanted the collection to be more comprehensive or more complete, and I wanted like everything I saw on screen. They'd put an alien in the line that maybe was on screen for 5 seconds, and then, what about this guy? He even has a speaking part. Why isn't there a toy of him? So I was always that way, and I graduated from Star Wars into, then it was G.I. Joe, the 3 3/4 G.I. Joes that Hasbro did in the 80s, He-Man, Ninja Turtles. There's never a time in my life when I wasn't buying toys, and like the adult collector market wasn't like an established or identified thing back then, so it was sort of like my, you know, my dirty secret. Like if friends would come over, I have to blame oh, that's not mine, that's my younger brother's. But you know, now of course everyone collects or has some kind of piece of memorabilia, whether it's an action figure, a bobblehead, or a Funko Pop. Someone has something in their office or on their desk. So but so I was always buying and selling. In high school, I got real serious about it. All this excitement was building in 1989 when the first Batman movie was going to happen that Tim Burton made, and I found out there was like a Want-Ad Press, basically a newspaper that was just for toys, and it was a monthly publication, and I got a subscription to it when I was 16, and I started buying and selling out of there and doing shows at like VFWs, and you know, little hotels like Coachman Inn in Cranford would have like a collectible show, or it'd be a toy and train show in, you know, Livingston or anywhere in the area, and I would start going to these shows to buy stuff either that I wanted or that I never had or that I wanted more of. And then by the time I was in college, I started to vend at these shows myself. I would get tables, and so this is all pre-internet, pre-eBay, all that didn't exist yet. And that's how we did it. And I was bit by that bug and never stopped. So 25 years ago, I was able to actually make it my career designing and manufacturing licensed toys and collectibles. And I still do that to this day, but on the side, I've always been buying and hunting for stuff, and it could be an estate sale, a garage sale, Facebook Marketplace, and we could go on vacation with our kids like we recently did in Salem, Massachusetts, and I found a Lester.
I'll find stuff.
I always find something. Yeah, I gotta come home with something.